Test.
Turn my phone off.
Okay, we got 4, so it's 2 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call the MPO meeting to order for Thursday, September the 7th of 2023. Mr. McDonald, if you'll call roll to ascertain the quorum, please, sir.
Be my pleasure. Judge Krabs.
Here.
Mr. Zahn. Judge Scott. Here. Mayor Quardo is not here. Mayor Squirrel. Here. Mr. Leindecker. Mr. Olivares.
Present.
And Ms. Toomey, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, sir. Public comment. Is there any public comment this afternoon? Any public comment?
None back at the office.
None back
either.
at office, okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 3, which is the approval of July 6, 2023 meeting. Those have been, minutes have been sent to you in your packet. If there's not any corrections or additions to it, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Judge Scott.
To approve, yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Oliveris. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay, item 4 is action, discussion, and possible action review items. First of all, we have 4A, which is Corpus Christi MPO Draft 2023 Program for Addressing Discrimination. Craig.
Good afternoon. For this month, we are seeking approval of the 2023 program addressing discrimination. It was released in July for public comment, and since then, we have not received any public comments beyond minor editorial comments that you can see in the track change version of the document. In 2021, we compiled several other documents into the program addressing discrimination. They are the Title VI process, the Limited English Proficiency Plan, the Environmental Justice Plan, and incorporated the Advancing Racial Equity Executive Order into one coherent document. And this document needs to be updated every other year. Since the adoption of the 2021 PAD, the PAD, 2 things have happened. The census data that underpins all of the socioeconomic information has been updated with the 2020 census, and 2 additional presidential executive orders have been signed. While these do specifically address our program addressing discrimination, they do not necessitate at this time any changes to our policies that were in the 2021 PAD. The TAC and MPO staff recommend approval of the 2023 PAD. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we do have a resolution 23-01 this afternoon that we need to get approved.
I move approval of resolution 2301, or 07, I'm sorry, 07.
The 7, yes,
I'll
07.
second, Judge.
Okay, I got a motion by Mayor Scarrow. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Oh, Mayor
Paulette,
Guhardo,
yes,
sorry,
sir.
I didn't hear you. We're in a little different format today.
Yes, we are. It's very different.
Right, okay. I got Mayor Scarrow and Mayor Guhardo. Okay. Any other discussion, questions of Craig on the resolution of the program? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay, 4B is Small Area Forecast Task Force Recommended Population and Employment Control Totals for 2025 MTP. Craig?
Hello again. So we are seeking approval of our control totals, as was stated, at the county level for both population, households, and jobs. These control totals are the base data that go into our 2050 plan. We will put the numbers into the travel demand model and use them to help generate needs in the future. We have our existing needs. We can look at existing congestion data, and then we will use this data to help us estimate our the transportation needs in the future. This is the first step in a process that we will sub-allocate these control totals out into what we call transportation analysis zones. And this is the first step is establishing what the control totals are. We are using the State Demographic Office forecast for the future. All 23 MPOs in the state of Texas also use this. Because the future is uncertain and we're in a period of transition, as we've dropped below replacement population births, the State Demographic Office generated two separate forecasts that we call them the 0.1 forecast and the 0.05 forecast or 0.55 forecast. We are using the 0.5 forecast, which is the forecast that generates the most population in our region. The jobs, the State Demographic Office has not completed their forecast. When we, in discussions with them, what they suggested we do is use a ratio of population to jobs to generate our employment in the future. We have done that, and that is what the task force discussed, and then the TAC also recommended approval. Are there any questions on the control totals? You will see this again as one thing, I skipped one whole part. So when we sub-allocate the where the population, these control totals are going to be located, we know that our allocation, sub-allocation is going to be wrong. So to make up for that, what we're doing is using a software program that will allocate it for us, and we will generate multiple scenarios to see what happens as we move the location of households and jobs around the region, how that changes our transportation needs, and that will help us reduce the possibility of making some inefficient investments. So, any questions?
Any questions? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we need approval of this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody? Okay, got a motion by Judge Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Guajardo. No further discussion or questions. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Donald, you have Mayor Guajardo coming in.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome,
Just wanna
Mayor.
make sure. We got started even without our attorney. It's like we were,
Yes.
2 o'clock, we were ready to roll.
We've had a lot of people enter the room.
That's what it is. Okay, moving on to 4C is our fiscal year 2023, 2026 Transportation Improvement Program TIP Amendment Number 1. Mr. McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Before I get started, I wanted to give you just a quick update. In the audience, we have our newest staff member, Yoshiko Bulan, who worked for us for many years. She chose to retire on us. And she was not willing for big fanfare by all of you. We can still get in contact with her, but we have a new employee, and I will let her introduce herself. So you will see her at these meetings and emails, and so I wanted to let you hear her for a change.
James, there you go.
Hi, my name is Carla Carvajal. I just moved to the city of Corpus about, 4 months ago, and I'm loving it. And thanks to Rob and the MPO team, I'm here now, and I'm excited to get to work with all of you. So nice to meet you, and you'll see me around for all of these meetings. And anything you guys need, you can call me.
Thank you.
And they will. Thank you for letting me do that.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, we should have done that earlier.
All right.
We got it done.
So for the agenda item, the next 2 items are companions. TIP Amendment 1 and UPWP or Work Program Amendment 1, I'll talk about that next. The TIP Amendment 1 really is to add money to a contract we already have. It's a AFA with TxDOT for all our planning tools and studies. You all approved that, almost a year ago now. And so that first $2 million is 100% federal dollars. We are underway with that, and part of what we're doing on the last item that you saw, some of the forecast and sub-allocation of population employment. We have a consultant and a sub-consultant already on board. They're already working toward that. So when Congress had their discussions a few months ago, related to budget, debt ceiling, and a whole list of other things. One of the items that was in that bill, which is now law, if folks didn't spend Corona relief money, it was all being taken back. And that was about $1 billion nationwide. So we had a little bit of a Texas two-step with TxDOT Federal Highways to make sure we obligated the money, this CRISA money that's in your memo, that was allocated to this MPO. And we needed to figure out a way to obligate it and spend it. So we had two options. We had one to do a paving job in the district. And also the second option was to enhance the existing contract by adding public outreach, adding some more items that the consultant teams recognized, that when we did that original contract for $2 million, as we got into scoping, down into the weeds, they could use, and we agreed with them, we needed more data and more analysis and more effort of all our sub-plans that you're starting to hear about. So we got the money obligated. To catch up with the process, we need to do a TIP amendment to show the new money, because it's federal money, has to be in our TIP. So in your attachment, you have the public notice for both the TIP and the UPWP, or the Unified Planning Work Program. You have the format of what it'll look like in the TxDOT, our TIP, and then the state has a STIP. You can see the version of that. And then on our last page, it's the illustrative list of, we put a big red box around the number change. So that takes it up to 3.2 million rounded in the TIP amendment. So with that, we will continue, we will add money to our consultant contracts, the subcontracts, we will acquire more data. The biggest part of that is safety data and big data like, cell phone data, all the other data from employment. So you just heard in the last item, we got a lot of employment information that really helps us understand what's going on right now where people are working, and also where the population are. So the recommendation we have is for you all to approve this for a 1-month public comment period. We'll be back in a month to ask you for approval.
Great. Any questions?
No, just thank you for going after that. It's great.
We like to go get any money that's not nailed down.
At least keep what we have.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, I got a motion by Mayor Guajardo. Do I have a second? I got a second by Judge Scott. Any further questions of Mr. McDonald? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, 4D is the fiscal year 2023, fiscal year 2024 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment 1.
Right. Thank you, Judge. Same item, different amendment. You'll remember our UPWP is our scope of services with federal government through TxDOT, and that needs to reflect all the things we're doing and spending, whether they pay for it or not. In this case, in your cover memo, same background information for the 3.179 million. Table on page 1, that shows where this money is being separated. We get planning funds, and we want to make sure everyone understands this is different money. And so we're showing it different. It's in its own cell or own category. And so we also took advantage of reworking some of the allocation of our prior planning funds in tasks 1 through 4. So if you look at our current UPWP, we gave you a link online, some of those other table numbers changed because we reallocated some of our staff hours to these categories to reflect the work we're doing now. So we're doing more long-range planning now versus short-range planning. So we took the opportunity with this to shift the money around. The details are on that full 80-page document for everyone to see where we moved hours around. The Technical Advisory Committee and staff, we're recommending, again, you release this for the 1-month public comment period. I'd
Okay,
be happy to answer any questions.
any questions? Okay, hearing none, do I entertain a motion to release it for 1-month public comment?
I'll make that motion to release the work program for a 1-month period.
Okay, got a motion by Mayor Scarrow. Do I have a second? Seconded by Judge Scott. No further comments or discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes our action items. We'll go ahead and into our information items for this afternoon. First of all is 5A, is Corpus Christi MPO Regional Household Travel Survey. Craig.
And so I need to apologize. Originally, TxDOT from headquarters was going to be given a presentation here. With the new setup, that isn't going to work. So I actually have them on my phone if we have questions, but I will try to cover. I've done a lot of household surveys myself in the past. TxDOT does these surveys about every 10 years or so for MPOs, which I have to give props to TxDOT. Nowhere else that I've been has done that. The MPOs had to come up with the money themselves to do these surveys, and they are really expensive. So the fact that TxDOT does this for the MPOs around the state is outstanding. The firm that they've hired, I have actually worked with 2 of my 3 household surveys that I've done in the past were with the same firm because it's the best firm in the country. It's ETC, and they do an outstanding job. So that aside, household surveys, what they do, they are some of the data that go into helping us figure out how people travel. So people have different travel characteristics based on how much money they have, how many children, how many offspring they have, how old those offspring are, what kind of job they have, are they in the service industry, are they in construction, or what different kinds of employment. And so the survey will ask these questions. They are fairly invasive questions. However, the data is completely anonymized. There is no way to trace the information back to the person who gives it. And now, in the last 8 or so years, the surveys are more commonly on an app on the smartphones, which makes it a lot easier. Before, they had to fill out a travel diary, and then there would be a callback that would call and walk through the travel diary with the person who did it. Now it's done on the app, and it's a lot faster, a lot less effort for people to do. There's actually, it's not just a survey of people. There'll be surveys of commercial establishments and other things that relate also to the survey that's going on. It will last, the survey itself will last, well, with follow-up and making sure that it's statistically valid across different ethnicities and incomes. 3 to 6 months is my guess, and hopefully I'm right there. I don't know how long it will take to do. Some ethnicities and income are a lot harder to get responses from, so they take additional effort and different incentives and other things to get that information completed. We will not have a final statistically analyzed version of this data in time for our 2050 plan. We will use it for our 2055 plan. What we've been doing, we've worked with TxDOT also and some consultants on updating our information using big data, which is to say, that's Google. There's a Google company that does it that keeps track of people's cell phones and a lot of different other ways. So we're using that to offset for the 2050 plan. You can see what the app looks like in your memo. Are there any questions of our household travel survey?
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mayor.
So, Craig, it says, can you, I guess, elaborate a little bit? This information is going to be used to calibrate the regional travel demand model.
Correct.
So tell us, what exactly is?
Okay, so the travel demand model. So one of the earlier items you approved was the control total of households and jobs that will be used. So we will take that and allocate households and jobs around the region, but we still need to know how the people, those that we have allocated around, or the households we've allocated around, what do their trips look like on a daily basis? On Monday, they go from home to work. On Tuesday, they're in a carpool. They go from home to school to work. What is the set of trips that encompass each type of household? That's what the household survey does. And so the survey, and I'm going to guess here, probably in the 2,500 to 3,000 household range for our region. It's been a long time since I calculated. I could be really off with that, but I think that's probably in the neighborhood. And so the travel characteristics of each household we put into our model, we have a software that says, okay, so in the future, here's what the road system looks like, and then here's where jobs are located, here's where people live. how do they move around the region? So they get up in the morning at 7 a.m., they go from home to school and drop off, and then they continue, they run an errand, then they go to work, and while they're at work, they work all day, then for lunch, they take a trip out for lunch and go back to work, and then on the way home, they stop, do grocery shopping, and go home. So that set of trips is sort of the daily set trips, but there's a trip chain in the morning that it goes from home to school to the errand to work. So that's one trip chain. And so we keep track of those by time of day, and we stack those. Our model runs through different time periods. It's 4 different time periods of the day, and so we add those in and look at, and the model estimates what route people will take. This route's congested, and we can calibrate that with other data that we get to make sure that, to fine tune the routes people are taking. And so it's what we use the household travel data for, is to figure out behaviors, travel behaviors.
To know what's being used more or less. Or
Correct.
what's changing.
Yep. And we can take the household survey data and create a different kind of travel model using big data and come up with very fine-grained analysis of behaviors for different types of people, or different income groups, different ethnicities, different races, and try to figure out what their needs are.
Right.
So.
Judge? Yes. Yeah. So just to add a little bit onto that, and so maybe Craig was going to say this, but in essence, that travel demand model is going to be a tool that the local governments can use too. So if you're looking at your development, area development plans or other development, you can use that model to give you a future forecast of what the traffic levels are going to be, what intersections are going to be, really congested. So as you look at that future condition, you can start planning for what do we do about it. Do you start widening the road? Do you start improving signals, time the signals on corridors? All that's just, the model is just one tool. And so I relate it to, it's a mathematical model of human behavior. Well, we need to figure out the human behavior, so the travel survey gives us the fine level of detail. As Craig said, the big data shows us how their, your phone travels. We don't know it's your phone, Mayor, but we know where it's been and going. And so when all that comes in, it helps to calibrate that mathematical model to the existing, like today. And it's very accurate. And so the model experts, they do that day in, day out. And so we have that done for our model. But with all the other information, we now have that future 2050 case of how many people are going to be here, how they're going to travel. And based on that travel, where's it going to be congested? What do we have to improve?
That makes all the sense in the world. Now, I hate to get into the weeds here, but this is a 2-county region. And this is optional. It's a volunteer, right?
Correct.
Isn't this kind of a, hey, would you like to take the survey?
It's possible that the sorry to interrupt. It's possible that the company will provide some incentives to try to get more responses, but that's on them. That's not us or TxDOT or anything.
Well, and I'm just curious as to, that was the whole point to the question was, what's the impact of this survey? It's very big. It can be, right? Because we're looking at the future. So do they require X amount of surveys?
Yes, there is a certain number of surveys by income and ethnicity and race. And household type, with children, without children. So they have a lot of performance metrics that the ETC has to meet, and that's why they may on their own choose, again, it's not related to us or, our TxDOT's federal money. It's on them as a private company to incentivize certain groups of people to participate.
It looks like they also, though, assign a travel day. So I'm assuming you sign up for the survey, and then at some point, I don't know if they look at your statistical information before they assign you a day.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so they're going to look at that. Are you employed? If you are, they may look at your work week. If you're not employed, they may look at your weekend, or, they may, depending upon what, I guess they're doing this, I hope a little randomly too, so that modelers do, I guess, what modelers do best, so.
And
Great tool to use, definitely.
one of the things that when I first heard about when our survey was going to be, I was a little off-put because it wasn't in time for our 2050 plan. Now, I think we're really lucky to have the timing when it is because post-COVID, travel behaviors have changed significantly. So we're sort of in that first post-COVID group to get our survey. And what we're seeing is, traditionally, our morning peak period was the biggest. And so morning peak hour was always since post-COVID, morning peaks all over the country have dropped below afternoon peak. And the afternoon peak isn't as compressed together and sharp. It's flat, so it's spread out more. Instead of being an hour and a half or so, it's more closer to a 3-hour period that isn't as significant, but it's longer. So, and so I think we're really lucky on our timing right now.
Would this survey also include all modes of transportation such
Yes.
as airfare or airplane? And I don't know if we could statistically look at how many people may be traveling out of the area to catch an airplane. I mean, there's all kinds of data that could happen.
So that's actually called the external travel survey, and that is done. It may actually have already been done. So TxDOT did the external commercial survey, so the trucks, the freight survey. I'm not sure if they did the external passenger survey. That one I would have to ask them. So it's part of the traditional set of household surveys. I'm not sure if it's in this specific set of surveys that's going to be done right now. I will find that out though for you, ma'am.
I mean, I can conceptually see that if the day I'm chosen, if I'm chosen on a weekend to go, it's high probability I'm on the road out of town somewhere, so.
And that happens, yes. And so we do get those trips, so.
Okay.
One other thing, and I thought Craig was going to get there.
Sorry.
Because we don't want to wait for this survey to do our current 2050 plan, and probably in the next couple months, we're going to do our own focus groups. So we're going to recruit people for our demographic, right? So whatever the census says is our demographic. We're going to get those people together, have dinner, have a consultant meet with them to do the same questioning of what their opinion and what they think about traveling. And one of the things, Craig or I, none of our staff will be in the room. We're going to have our consultants go in, and all the people will be, picked to fill all those different demographic boxes. So we get the I guess, non-volunteer sense, right? They're going to be there, and they're not advocates. They're not self-selecting to join, because if you have advocates that want to do things for roadways, bike, or transit, well, they can't pick to be on that focus group. They're going to be selected by our consultant. So we can get a, no kidding, tell us your opinion about this, but it's our demographic. And so that feeds into all of our planning. And then when we get the census data, we get the household survey data, we bring it all together to say, okay, this is what the opinion is. But as we do projects and plans, we also have other separate public meetings say, well, what do you think about our bike plan? What do you think about pedestrian plan or transit or everything else? So again, that's a local component because we're impatient, right, as staff. We don't want to wait for the survey results that TxDOT's going to do. The results are 10 months, a year out. We can't wait. Our plan will be approved by then. And so, again, it's a very important piece. So you may hear and you may get phone calls to try to get recruited on there or hear of that. And so as TxDOT is going out through the media to say, if you get a call, it's a survey, TxDOT's putting the word out. So, feel free to participate if you want to. They're not trying to sell you anything and all that. So we want to take advantage of that as well for our own focus groups.
And as you said, it's important. So it's possible that, depending on response levels, that we will ask you all to provide legitimacy to the survey and ask you to, sign a letter, hey, please do participate in this. So that is not an uncommon thing to have happen, so. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, then we'll move on to 5B, which is TxDOT 2024 Unified Transportation Program, Category 2 and 4U Final Project. Mr. McDonald?
I got this one. Thank you, Judge. So in your packet, this was on your agenda last month, and we weren't able to meet. All the planning we do, all the efforts we do as a collective number of agencies leads to this result. So when you see the table, which is your first attachment, That's $320 million of transportation projects. It's, I think it's attachment 1 on item 5B. It's a landscape table. Yeah, you've got the big size. This is the next these are the projects that are going to be built in the next 10 years. It has been approved by Texas Transportation Commission last month. Your meeting last month was the last chance to say, is there anything you want to change? Now, nothing has changed on this list for 6-7 months, but we brought it through our technical committee and all this, through you, to make sure none of the local governments have another project they want to try to get on this list. No one brought anything forward. The list stands, and now the list is approved. Now, remember, TxDOT, they update this 10-year plan every year. So starting later this month, they're going to start to get the next 10 year and look at, okay, are these the right set of projects? What's the revenue estimates? And so on the second page of your cover memo, you can see the allocation of dollars. That this is from the 2024 version of that 10-year UTP. That list is $383 million. So you all get to approve all that. And so as we go through our planning process, again, we're developing tools, we're getting you a lot of information. Eventually, you're going to get to select these projects and say, all right, this is the priority projects. You're going to select them for 25 years, 10 years as here, and also the 4-year transportation improvement program. So a lot of money on the table and a lot of projects that want the money. And so now that this is done, this will be our starting point. The next 25-year plan will have the next iteration of this 10-year plan, because that's going to be done about a year from now. And about a year and 2 months from now, we'll be looking to approve your 25-year plan, that 2050 MTP. So this is just an information item. The list you've seen before, no surprises there, but we're just letting you know that it is now official. The Transportation Commission has approved it, and let's start again. We're going to do the next one.
Okay.
Quick
Any
comment.
comments, question?
Comment, Jen.
Jeff, go ahead.
So, you know, we have the Park Road 22 project, which back to kind of the point of, you know, the survey, right? The survey gives you the vision for, you know, where we should focus. This is, I know this is on, I'm happy that it's on here, but I would ask, and we can, you know, maybe talk about it in the future, in terms of possibly discussing moving this up. We have easily $1.5 billion right now in development out on the island happening, like right now as we speak. And so, you know, this is kind of like that survey. I would love to see us consider modifying the priority of this, because this will, just like the roadmap, right, to what is really being used, what roads are by people, this here is gonna happen. The development is happening. And I think this project would be something that would be well, I guess it would be a good item to discuss as far as modifying the list.
Sure. So this list, it's done. As I said, we're going to update this list,
Yep.
or TxDOT through our process and theirs. And so for, you know, the projects you're talking about along Park Road 22, we bring in all the city's area development plans. We bring in the Portland Plan 2040. All that expected development that you've agreed to, we pull in and bring it into our processes. So we add it to the discussion of how to sub-allocate the population and employment. We've given our consultant teams your current ADPs. We're giving them the information you have, so the city is in the process of doing your roadway master plan, stormwater master plan, all that information related to what improvements are needed in the roadway system. We've already got the list. It's already on our master list of 2050 potential projects. Now, if the city funds those and Portland funds their projects with their impact fees, it just goes into our long-range plan. So you all don't have to decide on those. They just come in from all the good work that the local governments do. Same with TxDOT. This 10-year list comes into our plan, but you all get to approve this 10-year, right? You have a recommendation on that. So when we bring literally any and all transportation project in, you'll see that full list. But then when we get to allocate our $1 billion+ You then get to decide, okay, should we move up Park Road 22 improvements based on the demand on the island and from the development going on now? That's what we look at. And so we will create that need, you know, our transportation need will come out of the travel demand model, all the other safety analysis that you'll see that over the next months and years. Then we get to select, okay, what do we do about that delay or the congestion or whatever it is, taking into account all the work TxDOT's already doing, what the cities are doing, what the counties are doing, what more do we need? And where should we focus at? Should we do more safety improvements, tie signals together, make corridors work? So the sub-allocation process we talked in that, the small area forecast, we have all the area development plans. So y'all can't have all the growth in every area development plan, right? So if we're talking about 50,000 people coming to the region, according to the state demographer, they all can't go to Portland, and they all can't go to Corpus Christi. We're gonna have the hard decisions of how much of a build-out is gonna happen. And then that leads to, in your case, Mayor, how much of Park Road 22 needs to improve. You know, how much growth and development is gonna happen in 10 years or 20 years on the island? I know TxDOT is looking at roadways out there too, and safety improvements, capacity issues. So as we run through our processes, we're gonna see what it means as all these things build out. Because everything is not gonna build out completely. You know, I'll pick on Portland a little bit. Their Plan 2040, their capacity of their city is about 95,000 people. Their population now is about 21,000. How do you go from 21,000 to 95,000 and then quantify the transportation impact? So they did it with their impact fees for the first 10 years or so. But we, you know, from the MPO, we're gonna go out 25 years and say, with this growth and development, seeing what the cities, counties are thinking for development, what does that mean for transportation impact or needs? And so when we bring you the needs list, you all look and say, wow, it's like $7 billion of transportation need alone. And we have $1.5 billion to allocate to that. So again, that's just a preview of this whole process that we're gonna lead to what projects do we do? And so what do we do about, on this list, Park Road 22? Right now, it's got about $19 million allocated to it, but that's not until 5 or 10 years from now. Should that be moved up, Mayor? And I think that was your point. The discussion is, depending on how development goes, it may have a need to go faster.
Right.
But that's why we have a 4-year plan and a 10-year plan. So as a reminder, you all moved up a project from a 10-year plan to a 4-year plan to apply for a federal grant. It was Yorktown. So when Corpus Christi applied for a RAISE grant, you said, hey, MPO, to be in line with that federal grant request, it needs to be in the 4-year TIP plan, not in 10-year or 25-year. So you all have the flexibility to move stuff. So as we come up with these plans, we're gonna ask you, and we'll ask all your technical staff, what do you think about that? Do we move things up, down, delay things? Remember, some things can be delayed if they run into, say, an environmental issue, right? There's some things that, like, we need to solve before we can go build a road. But anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but our process is long-winded, and you're gonna see a lot of these sub-plans come forward, but it all starts with the plans, but leads to what is in front of you now. This is $380 million of projects that you all say, that's what we're gonna do. And you get to change you can change your mind, but you have to tell us how and why. And so I think that, and Mayor, as you say, there may be a reason Park Road 22 needs to move up, and we're happy to look at it. We're gonna bring everything through the process and lead to your table eventually for a decision.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. McDonald? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 5C. And Mr. Oliveris, you're going to give us an update on the new Harbor Bridge?
Yes, sir, Judge. Thank you to the board for the opportunity. I'll start with the main Harbor Bridge. So you've seen the two towers, the main towers that are growing out of the ground and continue to grow vertically, but you're also seeing the bridge now grow horizontally off of both towers. So the north tower has a total of 60 precast segments that have been placed horizontally already on the, off of that north tower as it grows towards the water side and the land side. You've seen the dark cables that are on there, a pair of dark cables on each side. Those are temporary cables, but the north tower also has a pair of the white cable stays as well, and those are permanent. So that's, the white ones that you see out there is what the permanent cables are going to look like, and we'll keep adding those, a pair of those cable stays on both the water side and the land side. Every time we put about 5 segments, we'll run a cable from the tower down to those segments and connect to the delta frames. So you'll see that continue to grow out. And I'm happy we got to that point where we're seeing the cable stays, because it's hard to tell for somebody who's driving by the progress on that bridge, because it looks like little Lego pieces on those segments as you're growing out. So it's hard to tell. There's 60 segments that have already been placed on the tower, but what you can see is the cable stays as they start growing out. So you have a temporary cable stay and a permanent cable stay on the north tower. We expect to have another set of cable stays on the north tower in October, and hopefully 5 before the end of the calendar year. We're shooting for the same thing on the south side. We're shooting for 5 sets of cable stay, permanent cable stays on the south side tower as well. We're a little bit behind in the south tower compared to the north. When you look at the tower heights, we've done 13 lifts. We go by lifts on the towers. We've done 13 lifts on the north tower. We're going to be a total of 20 lifts that are required to finish the north tower to get to a height of 538 feet. So right now you're in the 400 range. On the north tower, we've done, and if I move over to the south tower, we got about 45 segments that have been placed on the south tower. You only see the temporary cable stays that are coming out right now, but in October we should have, or before the end of this month, we should have permanent stays, a set of permanent stays on the south tower as well. So that one is 1 lift below the north tower. So we're on lift 11, I think, on the south tower. They continue to grow vertically and horizontally. So hopefully that's something the public is seeing, the progress there. And you can see the progress when you're driving through Crosstown and 37 of the work that's happening at the interchange as well. We've finished all the pile driving that has to be done on the project. So with the pile driving, so the piles are actually the foundations that are holding some of these smaller bridges, and I call them smaller compared to the Harbor Bridge, the smaller, more traditional type bridges that we're driving through, the overpasses, the direct connects. And if a staggering number, if you put every one of those long piles back to back in length, we had 50 miles of pile driving that we did on this project that was just completed. So it's a staggering number for a project. And all that is underground, again, a foundation that was used. So a milestone that we have coming around the corner, hopefully it looks like early October. We're planning on opening the Leopard Street overpass, hopefully by that point. So that's the goal. So that's a big milestone for us if we can get that done. Other than that, you see the work going on. I won't go individually by conventional bridges, but you see the work going on in the interchange and how that's been growing and how we're trying to widen Interstate 37 as well. So,
Great. Any questions?
yeah, I'll take any questions that you have.
I have one question. So what is the purpose of the temporary cable stays? Is that a supply chain issue instead of like temporary?
It's phasing,
permanent?
construction phasing issue.
Phasing?
Yeah. Lets you get out a little bit further before you put the permanent stays in
Okay.
place.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on down to, I guess, 5D, which is the 2020 Corpus Christi MPO Adjusted Urban Area Update. Fred?
Hello
Fred
again. And 2 things, I got an email from the TxDOT surveyors, and they were watching. The external surveys were done in about 5 years ago. 2017 is when they conducted them. So the external surveys have been completed as part of the whole set. Second, I will say, as an island resident, while it's inappropriate for me to
To advocate for
overtly support, I will say that there's definitely an issue at the 361 PR22 intersection. That is a problem, especially when you have a crash. So there's something. Anyway, moving on to the adjusted urban area. So as part of every census survey, the Census Bureau designates what is known as the census-designated urban area, and that is the core part of MPOs. Every MPO has, at its core, a single main urban area. There may be additional urban areas that are part of it, but there is a core. However, the Census Bureau, being not part of transportation, draw their lines not based on anything that, well, anything rational, but that's probably too harsh. But what the net effect of that is roads will be in or out of the urban area, and MPO funding is for urban areas. And so if you move a road, as a road would go in and out of the urban and rural areas, this is eligible, this isn't eligible, this is eligible, this isn't eligible. So the Department of Transportation is allowed to modify the census designated, or adjust, I guess, it's technically, adjust the census urban area so that it creates a single smooth boundary and the roads are either in or out, and it doesn't bounce back and forth between in and out. We're in that process now. We have received the census urban area. We got that back in December, so we have 1 year to do the adjustment. TxDOT statewide has provided some suggestions, draft suggestions on how to adjust the urban area. And then in the federal regulations, there are, as part of functional classification, there are how that urban area should be smooth, things that should be considered, and that's up to the local entity, us, you, as the MPO board, to create an adjusted urban area that suits our region, and that is submitted to Federal Highway Administration, specifically the Texas Division, because when Congress gave the Department of Transportation ability to adjust the urban area, they said the Secretary of Transportation can do it. Well, Secretary of Transportation delegated that to his division directors in each state. So Texas Division of Federal Highway Administration is the one who needs to approve what is suggested. If we don't, within the year, come to an agreement on what the adjusted urban area is, it defaults to the census area, and nobody wants that. So that's a pretty big stick that we have motivating us. So what you see are I said, the census designated urban area, and then how TxDOT has adjusted the urban area. We will go through a process. This will be on the next Technical Advisory Committee meeting. We'll have a workshop to talk about each of these items. So some of them, and it says should, with the exception of C, they all say the urban area should include terminals. C is interesting because it says the adjusted urban area is adjusted to encompass large traffic generators that are within a reasonable distance of the urban area. Couple things, what's reasonable? So in talking to other places around the country, it's 2 miles. In a couple of states, it's 3 miles, but so not a far distance. And, then D, it should consider transit service routes. Well, the CCRTA serves Robstown and Port Aransas, so that creates some interesting things. So we should incorporate those. And so we've been having some discussions with TxDOT. I'm sure we'll have some with Federal Highway and the TAC. We'll be having discussions about proposal for adjusting the urban area. So, and you'll be seeing it because you all need to approve it and send it to Federal Highway Division as our adjusted urban area. And I've one potentiality, this is if you remember back to February, if our urban area becomes contiguous with another urban area like Robstown or the Port Aransas, they would then become part of our metropolitan area because contiguous urban areas should be part of the metropolitan area. So that is a potentiality of, so Robstown, Aransas Pass, Port Aransas, and Ingleside, those could become part of our MPO process then. Any questions?
Any questions, comments?
So can you explain the different colors, like on the attachment one, you got pink, you got blue, you got green?
So the best explanation I can give is, so I made these maps and I'm colorblind. That is said, so on my screen, these are easy for me to distinguish.
Okay, well, help us.
So that is the best way for me. We will be working with Victor and his color vision and more powerful software in the future, but so that's the best way I can explain.
So all these areas should be the same color?
Well, so they're different. So so I will try, in attachment 1, the Robstown, I'm going to guess that's pink.
No, it's, well,
Well, so,
on one it's pink and one it's blue.
okay, yeah, so so when I stack those on top of each other in my software, it makes it easy for me to tell what changed. So that's one thing, is I try to do a light with a dark. And you'll see, so yeah, and you can't have islands, so if you look at Robstown, just north of Robstown, that you'll see a square that's not part of it. So that has to be connected, and so if you flip to the TxDOT's draft version, they connected that.
Right.
The same, you'll see the same, there's some parts of, up by the Portland and Gregory. They were separate, so TxDOT connected those areas along the highway. A big one, if you look at, and to get to one of the things, if you look at the Ingleside-Aransas Pass, you see there on the first one, they sort of stop, not too far, I guess not too far inland, but if you look at what the adjusted area is, it moves over pretty far towards Portland, and that's taking into account sort of their share of the industrial. So they sort of move to the halfway point between ours, so.
So obviously the goal is to get to the point where we probably are going to adopt this version.
Well, so the, what TxDOT proposed as a draft actually doesn't follow all, so what we'll do is create, we'll go through and it says we should do this, so we'll create a map that does that.
That you have to
And then we'll do another map, and it should do this, we'll create a map that does that, and we'll take that all to the TAC and say, okay, so here's all the shoulds and what would result if we did that. Now, we need to figure out, so if we're not gonna do it, why would we not do what it says, what the regulations say we should do? So,
So in the pink and the blue on the 20 census, are these new urbanized areas that came in as a result of the census?
yes,
Okay. And then, but because none of them are contiguous to the existing MPO, they're still out of the MPO.
Correct.
Thank you.
so if we adjust, if in the process of adjusting our urban area, we become contiguous with either Robstown or the Ingleside-Aransas Pass, then they would be, then we have to offer them to become part of the MPO. They don't have to accept, but the offer would have to be made.
Okay, got it.
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions, comments?
Is there a deadline to complete this process?
So we have to, in December, if we haven't come to an agreement, it automatically reverts to the census. We have a couple of meetings scheduled. The 21st of September, we're having a conversation with the TxDOT group that's doing this. All the MPOs are. The plan is in October to sort of create, to have by October, sort of, we would like to bring to you something for approval, and then because I believe it's the late in October is when the MPOs and TxDOT sort of agreed that we should finish it, which gives us a 2-month cushion before the stick hits in December.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else?
Judge, if I can go back 1 second, I meant to ask Valente on the
Sure,
bridge.
go ahead.
What is is the expected completion date?
The new bridge opening date is still spring of 2025, so April of 2025. Now, the completion, just to make sure the difference, or differentiate, the completion, because we still got to put traffic on the new bridge, and then complete small sections of the interchange where it connects, and demo the existing bridge, that would be a year after opening of the new bridge before completion of the project. But the main milestone is putting traffic on the new bridge,
April 25.
2025, correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on then down to, I guess, 5E, which was the Regional Traffic Safety Task Force recap on their July 12, 2023 meeting. Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, it seems so long ago, July.
Yes, it does.
So as part of our ongoing effort to address safety issues in the region, our Joint Safety Task Force includes the MPO Task Force that you all set up a year ago, but also TxDOT's Wrong-Way Driver Task Force Coalition. We're meeting about every other month. Our next meeting is actually next week. So We did not give you that agenda because it went out really late yesterday. And so we wanted to make sure what you had in your packet was what they're talking about. I think key within that, the group, as you'll remember now, includes all law enforcement from, the sheriff, Portland Police, Corpus Christi Police, DPS. So we have enforcement covered. We have all the engineers in the house that show up from the local governments that do the engineering of safety solutions. We have the ISDs. We have everybody that has an issue with safety. And so our consultant team that have been on board now for 6-7 months, they're starting to show some good progress. Next week, we're going to show the task force some new information. Eventually, our technical advisory committee, they're going to see it, and we'll have something for you probably next month, but I won't guarantee it. But we want to show you some of the results of all this data we're collecting, all the software we're getting, the work that the consultant teams are doing, the local government staff are doing to say, here are potential solutions to some of our safety issues. And so the task force is really doing a great job of sharing the information, sharing the data with each other. We invite 100 people, and we usually get 50 that show up. And they share the information of what's going on currently, and it's really worked out well. But we're getting to the point, and you know from your staff, the MPO staff, we want things actionable. We want to put things in place that are not just plans, that they're implementation of projects or programs. So that's the update of where the committee's at. Again, you'll get the update from what they talk about next week. We got the preview about 2 hours ago from our consultant team, so we think they're going to like what they see. And so we'll bring you the update as we move along.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments? Great deal. Okay, we'll go down then to 5F, which is Corpus Christi MPO Regional Coordination Group for Transportation Grant Updates. Mr. McDonald?
I will keep rolling. Yeah, the committee, or your technical advisory committee is the focusing mechanism of anyone applying for all these federal grants through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. So when they go after billions and billions of dollars, we catalog when the due date. So your attachment is a Word document that shows in yellow, orange of what's coming up for cities, counties, TxDOT, for folks to apply for grants. And there's so much money, and it's got another 3.5+ years to go, depending on the category. So we give you an update on that. We update what the new notice of funding opportunities. So you've got 2 in your packet. Let me make sure I get the right titles. So the NOFO, you've got a pilot program for transit-oriented development, or TOD, and then the SMART program. Those notices are out, so anyone who's interested, we offer any data we can for anyone who wants to apply. So if we have data that can help your grant application, just ask us. And so TAC is the folks, and they're going to meet in about 2 weeks. Look at anybody who needs data, or they're planning on applying for some of the dollars at the federal level. Now, we also report to you the successes. Our local RTA, I know some of their staff is in the crowd. They got $11,744 in a $100 million program. We gave you the program, and we show that, and not to make light of it, but sometimes the crumbs fall out of the sky, right? I mean, what do you do for $11,000? Hard to say. But you look at some of those other programs, some cities got $30 million in this program. So it doesn't mean that RTA is not going to keep applying, and they keep applying. The other success, TxDOT got $1 million to do evaluation of roadway conditions. And so congratulations, TxDOT, $1 million. It's $1 million they didn't have last year. And so, again, as the NOFOs come up, we share it, and we hope to report more results. So keep going for the money and reel it in, we hope, because there's literally billions out there.
Okay. Any kind of questions on that? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move down to member statements or comments. Anybody from the committee has comments or statements? No? Okay. Good thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll take the opportunity here, because I heard 361 intersection mentioned, then Park Road 22 discussion, so I think it'd be a good time to mention what we're doing on State Highway 361, just in case you were not aware of it. So we have a consultant on board looking at an added capacity type project along the 361 corridor that eventually will connect to Park Road 22. So within their scope, we're also looking at the intersection of Park Road 22 and State Highway 361. So I tell that to this group, just in case you were not aware of that action, the planning going on behind the scenes, and we'll go out to the public probably the beginning of the calendar year, start letting them know we're looking at a feasibility study, get some input from the public on whether this should be high-speed, low-speed, boulevard type, whatever it may be, right? Getting some input back from the public and the people here at the MPO. But I bring that all up also because of the Park Road 22 discussion about prioritizing, because that 361 section will also be inside portions of it within the MPO, right? So we're going to have to eventually, they'll run it through some numbers to get to see which scores best, and the TAC will come to us and tell us this is what we think is scoring best prioritization. But eventually, this policy board will say this is our priority or this is not our priority. So there's going to be a lot of projects that we're going to have to prioritize in the future with the money that we have. Yeah.
Good deal. Thank you. Any other comments from members? Okay, on your agenda there, you have the upcoming meetings. That Regional Safety Task Force meeting, as Mr. McDonald said, next week, the 13th. Technical Advisory Committee meeting is going to be on the 21st, and the Small Area Task Force Forecast meeting is on the 21st as well. Our next TPC meeting is scheduled for October the 12th. It's a week later than normal, because I think Judge Scott, myself, and I think both mayors, I think we're all at conference, I think, that week. So that's why we've moved it to October 12th. Mark that down on your calendar so you don't forget. Okay, with that, Mr. McDonald, do you have anything else?
We're good. Thank you very much.
Good? Okay, well, we will adjourn the Transportation Policy Committee meeting at 3:01 PM. Thank y'all.